In the cold vacuum of space, paperwork matters more than most realize. A single checkbox, one misplaced classification code, can change the fate of worlds. The Tristellar Commerce Authority learned this lesson when they processed intake form TC7749B, marking one Marcus Chen as civilian, non-combatant status. That designation would travel through 3-star systems, copied and filed in dozens of databases, becoming official record. Bureaucracy turned it into truth. But truth has a way of revealing itself, especially when someone threatens what a man holds dear. The Vryn Syndicate discovered this when they boarded freighter Destiny's March on a routine shakedown. They expected credits and cargo. What they found was something the galaxy hadn't seen in 12 years, and 3-star systems would burn before the records were corrected. The alarm cut through the recycled air of Destiny's March like a blade through silk. Marcus Chen didn't flinch. He'd been expecting it for the last 3 hours, ever since they'd crossed into the out-of-Vryn territories. His hands remained steady on the navigation console, fingers dancing across holographic displays with practiced ease. "Captain, we've got a contact," called out Ryla from the sensor station. The Centaurian woman's blue-tinged skin flickered with bioluminescent anxiety patterns. "Vryn Syndicate configuration. They're broadcasting intercept codes. Captain Teodor Volkov, a bear of a man with more grey in his beard than black, slammed his palm against the armrest of his chair. "Of course they are. Pirates pretending to be customs officials." How original. He glanced at Marcus. "Chen, can we outrun them?" Marcus studied the readouts, his dark eyes scanning trajectory calculations that appeared faster than most people could read them. "Not with our current cargo load. We're hauling 73,000 tons of agricultural equipment. The Destiny wasn't built for racing." "Syndicate vessel is closing," Ryla reported, her voice tight. "They're charging weapons, light frigate class. They're transmitting now." The main display flickered to life, showing a reptilian face with scales that shifted between green and brown. The Vryan male wore the mismatched armor typical of Syndicate crews, pieces scavenged from a dozen different species, none of it matching, all of it functional. Behind him, Marcus could see at least 8 other figures moving on their bridge. Freighter Destiny's March. This is Syndicate Enforcer Claw of Prophet. You will cut engines and prepare to be boarded for cargo inspection and taxation. Resistance will be met with immediate termination of your vessel and crew. You have 60 seconds to comply. The transmission cut off. Volkov's jaw clenched. Taxation. They're going to clean us out. He looked around his bridge crew. 5 souls, including himself and Marcus. All civilians. All registered with the Tristellar Commerce Authority as non-combatant personnel. The Destiny's March was logged as an unarmed merchant vessel, and that classification was absolutely accurate. No weapons. No military-grade shields. Nothing but basic hull plating and hope. "Captain," Marcus said quietly, "I recommend compliance. We can't fight them." "They'll take everything," spat Jenko, the loadmaster. The stocky human was already sweating, his hand hovering near the emergency beacon. 3 months of profit. The company will have our heads. "Better our jobs than our lives," Ryla countered. Volkov studied Marcus for a long moment. In the 2 years Chen had served as his navigator, the captain had learned to read the subtle signs most people missed. The way Marcus's shoulders set just a fraction straighter, the slight tightening around his eyes, the too casual way he stretched his fingers. "Chen," Volkov said carefully, "is there something you want to tell me?" "Cutting engines now, Captain, preparing for boarding procedures." His fingers moved across the console, and the Destiny's main drives powered down with a descending whine that shuddered through the deck plates. The Claw of Prophet matched their drift within minutes. Magnetic clamps engaged with metallic thuds that echoed through the hull. The crew of Destiny's March gathered in the cargo bay as per standard procedure, hands visible, no weapons, no resistance. 12 Vryn Syndicate members came through the airlock, scales gleaming under harsh LED lights, weapons ranging from slug throwers to plasma rifles. Their leader, the same one from the transmission, surveyed the gathered crew with slitted eyes that lingered on each face, cataloguing, assessing threat levels. His gaze slid over Marcus without pausing. Another scared civilian in coveralls. Hands raised, no danger. "I am Enforcer Crash," the Vryn announced, his translator rendering his hisses into flat galactic standard. "Your cargo manifest shows agricultural equipment bound for Tellus 4. very valuable. The syndicate thanks you for your contribution to our operational expenses. That cargo is insured and tracked, Volkov said, keeping his voice level. Taking it will bring Tristella Authority investigators. Kresh's scales rippled with amusement. The Authority has no jurisdiction in out-of-Ren space. You chose to take the shortcut through our territory. You pay the toll. He gestured to his crew. Strip the cargo. Everything. Take the ship safe. Personal belongings. All of it. Syndicate members spread out with practiced efficiency. Marcus watched them work, his breathing steady, his heart rate controlled. They were professionals, he noted. Disciplined. They moved in pairs, covered each other's positions, maintained awareness of sightlines, military training, or close to it. That made them dangerous but also predictable. Ryla stood beside him, trembling. They're taking everything, she whispered. It's just cargo. Marcus replied softly. We're alive. For now, Jenko muttered from his other side. Kresh supervised his crew, occasionally barking orders in untranslated Vrin. The cargo bay's loading mechs whined to life under syndicate control, shifting containers through the connected airlocks into the Claw of Prophet's hold. 40 minutes passed. Then 50. The Destiny's march grew lighter, emptier. Then one of the syndicate members, a younger Vrin with orange-tinted scales, emerged from the crew quarters deck. He was dragging Lena, the ship's engineer. The young woman struggled in his grip, her face streaked with tears. Found her hiding in a maintenance shaft, the syndicate member announced. She had this. He held up a small metal case. Kresh took it, opened it. Inside were personal data chips, family photos, messages, memories. Nothing of value to pirates. But the Vrin's eyes gleamed. What else are you hiding, little human? Nothing. It's just my personal files. Lena's voice cracked. The orange-scaled Vrin struck her across the face. She fell, blood streaming from her split lip. Marcus's breathing didn't change. His expression remained neutral, but Volkov noticed his navigator's hands, previously loose at his sides, curl into fists so tight the knuckles went white. Leave her alone, Volkov called out. She's just a kid, 23 years old. She's got nothing you want. Kresh walked over to where Lena had fallen. I decide what I want. He grabbed her by the hair, yanked her head back. Maybe we take more than cargo today. Maybe we take crew. Young humans fetch good prices in the outer markets. That's slavery, Ryla breathed. That's illegal everywhere. You think the law reaches here? Kresh laughed and his crew joined him. We are the law. The orange-scaled Vrin grabbed Lena's arm, started dragging her toward the airlock. She screamed, fought, kicked. The syndicate member hit her again. Enough! The word cut through the cargo bay like a gunshot. Everyone turned. Marcus Chen had stepped forward. His hands were no longer raised. His posture had changed. Weight balanced, centered, ready. His eyes had gone cold in a way that made Volkov's blood freeze. Kresh stared at him. What did you say, civilian? I said enough. Marcus's voice was quiet, controlled. Take the cargo. Take the credits. Leave the crew. The syndicate leader's scales darkened with anger. You give me orders? He raised his plasma rifle, pointed it at Marcus's chest. You want to die first. Marcus didn't move. Let her go. Leave this ship. You can survive the next 10 minutes, or you can't. Choose. The cargo bay went silent. Kresh's crew members exchanged glances. Volkov opened his mouth to speak, to de-escalate, but something in Marcus's stance stopped him. The navigator stood like a man who'd made these calculations before, who knew exactly how the next seconds would unfold. Kresh's claw tightened on the trigger. Die then! One moment he was standing still. The next he was inside Kresh's guard, one hand redirecting the plasma rifle's barrel toward the ceiling, while his other hand struck the Vrin's throat with surgical precision. The rifle discharged into the overhead lights, showering sparks. Kresh gurgled, stumbled back. Marcus had the rifle. He spun it, fired 3 shots in less than 2 seconds. 3 syndicate members dropped, plasma bolts through their center mass, lethal and precise. The cargo bay erupted into chaos. The remaining syndicate crew opened fire. Marcus was already moving, using a cargo container for cover, his shots methodical and accurate. Each trigger pull resulted in a target down. No wasted ammunition. No panic. Just brutal, efficient violence. Volkov grabbed Ryla and pulled her behind a loading mech. Jenko hit the deck, covering his head. Lena scrambled toward them, the orange-scaled Vren who'd been dragging her now sporting a smoking hole where his left eye had been. Marcus rolled behind a support pillar, avoided a burst of slug thrower rounds, came up firing. 2 more Syndicate members fell. He moved like water, never staying in one position, always 3 steps ahead of where the enemy aimed. His face remained calm, emotionless, like he was running through a routine maintenance checklist instead of fighting for his life. Kresh had recovered enough to grab his sidearm. He fired wildly, rage overriding training. Marcus dropped the empty plasma rifle, snatched a fallen slug thrower mid-roll, came up and put 4 rounds into Kresh's chest. The Syndicate leader crashed backward into a cargo container and slid down, leaving a trail of dark blood. The last 3 Syndicate members broke. They ran for the airlock, firing backward without aiming. Marcus tracked them with the slug thrower, squeezed the trigger. Click. Empty. He dropped it, grabbed a discarded plasma pistol, checked the charge. 40%. Good enough. He walked toward the airlock, his stride measured and unhurried. The fleeing Syndicate members scrambled through, hit the release on their side. The magnetic clamps disengaged with a hiss. Marcus raised the plasma pistol, fired once. The shot burned through the airlock control panel on the Syndicate side. Sparks erupted. The outer door froze half-closed. Through the gap, Marcus could see into the claw of Prophet's airlock. The 3 survivors were screaming at the controls, trying to override the jam. Marcus aimed carefully and fired twice more. Both shots found targets. The 3rd Syndicate member got the override working. The outer door slammed shut. Marcus turned away as the claw of Prophet disengaged. Through the cargo bay's viewport, he watched the Syndicate frigate's engines flare to life, pushing it away from the Destiny's March at emergency acceleration. Running. Broken. The cargo bay fell silent except for the ringing in everyone's ears and the soft hiss of damaged atmosphere recyclers. 11 bodies lay scattered across the deck. 11 Syndicate members who'd boarded as predators and died as prey. Marcus set the plasma pistol down on a cargo container. His hands were steady. His breathing was controlled. He looked at Captain Volkov. "Captain," he said quietly, "I resign my position, effective immediately. I'll transfer to a pod and await pickup. I apologize for the complications this will cause your charter." Ryla stared at him. Jenko stared at him. Lena, blood still on her face, stared at him. "Who are you?" Volkov finally asked. "Really?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "My personnel file says civilian navigator." "That's what I am now. That's not what I saw. What you saw was self-defense. Piracy is still illegal, even in out-of-Rin space." Volkov walked through the carnage, stepping over bodies, until he stood face to face with his navigator. "Chen, I've served in 3 different merchant fleets over 27 years. I've seen combat. I've seen soldiers. I've seen mercenaries." He gestured at the bodies. "I've never seen anyone move like that. Fight like that." That wasn't self-defense. That was execution. Marcus met his eyes. "I did what was necessary to protect the crew." "No," Volkov said. "You did what you were trained to do. And whoever trained you didn't teach merchant defense." He paused. "They're going to come back." The claw of Prophet ran, "But they'll report this. The Syndicate doesn't let this kind of loss slide." "I know. They'll send more ships, better armed. They'll want revenge." "I know. And when they dig into who you are, what they find isn't going to say civilian navigator, is it?" Marcus was silent. Ryla approached, her bioluminescence flickering with confusion and fear. "Marcus, those shots you made. 3 seconds, 3 targets, 3 headshots. That's not luck. That's not amateur hour. That's elite training. Ryla, don't." She held up a hand. "Don't lie to us. Not after you just saved our lives." She looked at the bodies, then back at him. "Who are you?" The question hung in the recycled air. Marcus stood among the dead. A man who looked like every other civilian freighter navigator in the galaxy. Average height, average build, the kind of face you'd forget in a crowd, except for the eyes. Now that they'd seen him in action, they couldn't unsee what lurked behind those dark irises. "My name is Marcus Chen," he said finally. "I was born on Earth. I'm 41 years old, and for 12 years I've been exactly what my personnel file says, a civilian navigator working commercial routes." He paused. "Before that, I was something else." What? Volkov pressed. Marcus walked to the viewport, looked out at the stars. The claw of Prophet was a distant speck now, running for whatever hole it had crawled out of. Before that, I was Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen, Terran Defense Force Special Operations Division. He turned back to face them. I was part of a unit that didn't officially exist. We did things that don't appear in history books. And when my enlistment ended, I took my discharge, logged myself as civilian status, and tried very hard to forget. Zhenko let out a breath. Terran Special Ops. That's myth stuff. Urban legends. The bogeymen the aliens talk about when they want to scare each other. Not myths, Marcus said quietly. Just classified. And you've been hauling freight for 12 years? Ryla asked. Why? Because I was tired of being a weapon. Marcus looked at his hands. Because I wanted to see the galaxy without a rifle. Because I thought maybe I could be something other than what I was trained to be. He laughed, bitter. Guess that worked out well. Volkov processed this, his mind racing through implications. The Syndicate is going to investigate this. They're going to pull records. They're going to find out that Marcus Chen, civilian navigator, just killed 11 of their people with professional precision. They'll find my current records, Marcus corrected. Civilian status, non-combatant designation, no military history listed. Sealed records? Part of my discharge agreement. Officially, I never served. The person who did those things, he doesn't exist in any database the Syndicate can access. Lena approached, her voice small. You saved my life. They were going to sell me. Marcus nodded. I know. I'm sorry I let it get that far. I was hoping they'd just take the cargo and leave. Why didn't you act sooner? She asked. Because the moment I did, I stopped being Marcus Chen, civilian. I became my old self again. And that person attracts attention I've spent 12 years avoiding. He looked at each of them. Now that attention is coming. The Syndicate will escalate. They'll send investigators, then enforcers, then warships. And when they can't find anything in the official records to explain what happened here, they'll start digging deeper. How deep can they dig? Volkov asked. Deep enough to make my life complicated. Possibly deep enough to make all your lives dangerous. Marcus moved toward the exit, which is why I'm leaving. I'll take a pod, file a separation report, and disappear. You report the attack, play the victims, and hope the Syndicate accepts that one of their crews got unlucky. No. Volkov's voice was firm. Marcus stopped. No, the captain repeated. You don't get to save our lives and then walk away like you're doing us a favor. We're already in this. The moment you pulled that trigger, we all became part of whatever comes next. Captain, besides, Volkov continued, you killed 11 Syndicate members in my cargo bay. That's evidence. Bodies that need explaining. And the Claw of Prophet saw you. They know what you look like. They know you were crew on the ship. He crossed his arms. So here's what's actually going to happen. We're going to secure this cargo bay, document everything, and file a complete report with Tristellar Authority. We're going to tell the truth. That we were attacked by pirates, that you defended the crew, and that you had prior military experience that proved invaluable. Let them question. Better than the alternative. Volkov looked around at his crew. Anyone disagree? Ryla shook her head. He stays. Stays, Jenko agreed. Lena wiped blood from her lip. If he goes, I go. I owe him my life. Marcus looked at them, something shifting in his expression. You don't understand what you're signing up for. The people I used to work with, the things we did, there are organizations in 3-star systems that would pay fortunes to find out where an ex-Terran Special Ops operative is hiding. Then they better have good life insurance, Volkov said. Because you're not hiding anymore. You're crew. And crew protects crew. Outside the viewport, the stars wheeled in their eternal dance, indifferent to the drama of small beings in small ships. But in the cargo bay of Destiny's March, surrounded by the bodies of those who'd underestimated him, Marcus Chen felt something he hadn't felt in 12 years. Connection. Purpose. The weight of people who depended on him not as a weapon but as a person. All right, he said finally. But when this gets worse, and it will get worse, don't say I didn't warn you. Volkov extended his hand. Noted. Now let's clean up this mess and get moving. We have cargo to deliver, and I have a feeling we're on a clock. They shook, and 3-star systems away, in data centers and intelligence networks that most people didn't know existed, flags began to trigger. Reports began to circulate. Questions began to be asked. Someone logged a civilian had just killed 11 syndicate members with professional precision. Someone was going to want to know why. And in the shadows where power plays and politics danced, eyes turned toward the out-of-rim territories with renewed interest. The galaxy was about to learn that some classifications mattered less than the truth. And the truth was walking around with a civilian badge and a decade-old lie that was starting to unravel. The station hung in the void like a spinning wheel, its 5 spokes rotating to generate gravity while the central hub remained stationary for docking operations. Meridian Station served as the primary trading post in the Tellus system, neutral territory where merchants, smugglers, corporate agents, and occasional military personnel mixed in an uneasy ecosystem of commerce and information. Destiny's March had docked 6 hours ago. The crew had filed their reports with station security, handed over sensor logs and testimony about the syndicate attack. The bodies had been transferred to cold storage pending investigation. Everything by the book. Marcus stood in the Central Market arcade, pretending to examine a display of Centaurian star charts while actually watching the security cameras track his movements. 3 different angles. Professional placement. Someone was paying attention. "You're being followed," Ryla said quietly, appearing beside him with a container of what passed for coffee on Meridian. She didn't look at him, just browsed the same display. 2 humans, syndicate colors. "I picked you up when you left the ship." "I know." Arcus accepted the coffee, took a sip. "Terrible. As expected. 3 more in the food court. 1 Vrin near the docking control offices. They're being obvious about it. Intimidation tactic? Information gathering? They want to see how I react." He moved to another display, this one showing navigation software. "How's Lena?" Doctor cleared her. Bruising, split lip. "She'll be fine physically." Ryla's bioluminescence dimmed with concern. "Psychologically, she's having nightmares. Keep saying they were going to sell her." "They were." Marcus kept his tone neutral. "Human trafficking is profitable in the outer territories. Young, skilled workers fetch premium prices." Ryla studied him. "You don't seem surprised." "I'm not." The Vrin Syndicate has been running that operation for 15 years. It's one of their primary revenue streams. "How do you know that?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Old intelligence briefings. Before I left the service, my unit tracked Syndicate operations. We disrupted several of their trafficking routes." Disrupted? Killed everyone involved and freed the captives. He said it matter-of-factly, like discussing cargo manifests. The Syndicate lost approximately 400 operatives across 6 raids. They never figured out who hit them. We made it look like rival gangs. Ryla's skin flickered with emotion Marcus couldn't quite interpret. "You've done this before. Fought the Syndicate, among others." He set down the coffee, moved toward the exit. "Stay close. If shooting starts, get behind solid cover." "You think they'll attack?" "On a neutral station. They're testing boundaries, seeing if I'm worth the risk of violating station neutrality." Marcus's eyes tracked the 2 human followers. Question is whether they're brave enough to find out. The attack came in the lower market level, a section of Meridian where station security rarely patrolled, and the merchants asked fewer questions. Marcus had led his shadows into territory of his choosing. Narrow corridors, limited sight lines, multiple exits. Classic ambush ground, except he was the one being ambushed. Or so they thought. The 2 human followers came from the front, weapons drawn, cheap plasma pistols, street grade. The 3 from the food court emerged from a side passage. The Vrin blocked the rear exit, holding what looked like a military-spec slug cannon. 6 versus 1. Ryla had peeled off 2 turns back on Marcus's signal, hiding in a maintenance alcove. "Marcus Chen," the Vrin said, his translator flat and emotionless. "You will come with us. The Syndicate has questions about the Claw of Profit incident." Marcus stopped walking. "I filed a complete report with station security." "Read that. The report says you're a civilian navigator who got lucky against 11 Syndicate enforcers." The Vrin scales shifted to an aggressive red pattern. "We don't believe in that much luck. You will come with us for clarification." "And if I refuse?" One of the humans, a scarred woman with augmented eyes, smiled. "Then we get to find out if you're as good as you seemed on that freighter. Either way, we get answers. Marcus calculated angles, distances, reaction times. 6 opponents, all armed, all expecting resistance. The Vryn was the primary threat. That slug cannon could punch through standard body armor at this range. The 3 from the food court had synchronized their positions, covering each other. Professionals. The 2 from his initial tail were less disciplined, standing too close together. Station security will respond to weapons fire, Marcus noted. Not in this section, the scarred woman replied. Not for at least 4 minutes, more than enough time. Marcus nodded slowly. You're right about one thing. The report I filed wasn't complete. He shifted his weight, hands still visible but positioning his body. I didn't mention that I recognized your leader, Crash. He ran a trafficking cell out of the Vryn territories. My old unit hit one of his operations about 13 years ago. We freed 43 captives, killed everyone guarding them. The Vryn's scales went completely black. You! Small galaxy! Marcus said. The Vryn raised the slug cannon. You're the ghost. The one they call... Marcus moved. He grabbed a market stall support pole, swung his body horizontal, and kicked both weapons out of the nearby human's hands in one fluid motion. He landed, rolled, came up with one of the plasma pistols, and fired twice. Both humans dropped. Holes burned through their chests. The 3 from the food court opened fire. Marcus was already behind a cargo crate, their shots scorching metal and concrete where he'd been standing. He blind fired around the corner, suppression shots to keep them pinned, while his other hand pulled a small device from his pocket. He armed it, tossed it high in an arc. The flashbang detonated with white light and concussive sound. The 3 shooters stumbled, disoriented. Marcus came around the crate firing. 3 shots, 3 targets, 3 bodies hitting the deck. The Vryn had held position, professional enough not to panic. The slug cannon roared. Marcus twisted, felt the round pass close enough to hear the supersonic crack. He returned fire. But the Vryn had quality armor. The plasma bolts scorched but didn't penetrate. They circled each other in the narrow corridor. The Vryn kept the slug cannon leveled. Marcus held the plasma pistol steady. Standoff. You're the one they called Reaper, the Vryn said. The human who disappeared. We looked for you. Searched for 6 years. Our best hunters couldn't find you because I stopped being that person, Marcus replied. I filed civilian status. I walked away. You can't walk away from what you are, from what you've done. The Vryn's claw tensed on the trigger. Too many debts. Too much blood. Funny, Marcus said quietly. I was going to say the same thing about you, he fired. The Vryn fired. Both dove opposite directions. The slug round tore through where Marcus had been standing. His plasma bolt caught the Vryn in the shoulder, spinning him. Marcus hit the ground, rolling. Came up, firing 2 more shots. The Vryn's armor held on the first, cracked on the second. The Vryn roared, brought the slug cannon around for another shot. Marcus was closer now, inside the cannon's minimum effective range. He grabbed the barrel, yanked it upward as it fired. The round punched through the corridor ceiling. Marcus drove his elbow into the Vryn's damaged shoulder, eliciting a screech of pain. The slug cannon clattered to the deck. They grappled, Vryn's strength against human technique. The Vryn was bigger, stronger, faster. But Marcus had fought Vryn before. He knew their balance points, their leverage weaknesses. He hooked the Vryn's leg, used the alien's own momentum to crash him into the corridor wall. Once, twice, 3 times. The Vryn's armor cracked further. Marcus grabbed his head and slammed it against the metal until the struggling stopped. Silence fell over the corridor. 6 bodies. 6 dead syndicate operatives who'd underestimated their target. Marcus picked up the slug cannon, checked the chamber, still loaded. He slid it across the floor toward the maintenance alcove where Ryla was hiding. It's clear. She emerged, her skin completely colorless with shock. You killed them all. They gave me no choice. Marcus retrieved his plasma pistol, checked the charge. Empty. He dropped it. We need to move. Station security will respond despite what they said. And more syndicate will come. Marcus, what did he call you? Reaper? He walked past her, heading for the station's service corridors. Old designation. Meaningless now. It's not meaningless if they're hunting you. She followed, her voice urgent. If the syndicate knows who you really are. They don't know, they suspect. There's a difference. Marcus navigated through the maintenance passages with ease, like he'd studied the station layout before docking. The Syndicate lost a lot of people to Terran special operations over the years. They developed legends about us, ghost stories. The Reaper was one of them, a human operator who specialized in high-value target elimination. Was that you?
That was my call sign, yes.
They merged into a market level 3 sections from where the fight had occurred. Marcus immediately shifted his posture, his gait becoming just another station visitor. Ryla struggled to match his sudden casualness. How many? She asked. How many what? How many people did you kill in your old life? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Enough to earn the call sign. Enough that the Syndicate spent 6 years trying to find me after I disappeared. He glanced at her. Still want me on your crew? I want to understand. You were military. You followed orders. But the way that Vryn talked, it sounded personal. Like you were more than just a soldier. They reached the docking ring. Marcus slowed his pace, thinking. My unit operated in the grey zones, places where traditional military couldn't go. We did things that needed doing but couldn't be acknowledged. He looked at her directly. I don't regret the missions. I regret not walking away sooner. By the time I left, I'd become more weapon than man. That's why I logged as civilian. That's why I chose merchant navigation. I wanted to remember what it felt like to be human. And now the Syndicate knows I'm here. They'll escalate. More operatives, better armed, less constrained by station neutrality, the access to public terminal, scan news feeds. They'll also start spreading information. Questions. Trying to flush out my real identity. Ryla's skin flickered with concern. Will your old unit protect you? My old unit doesn't exist. Officially, I never served. The records are sealed so deep that even Syndicate intelligence can't reach them. He paused, noting a headline. But there are other people who remember. People who worked in the shadows with us. And if the Syndicate makes enough noise, those people will notice. The headline read, Mysterious Attack on Meridian Station. 6 Syndicate members dead. Station security investigating. Below it, a second headline. Vren Syndicate issues statement. Calls deaths targeted assassination by unknown operative. Marcus closed the terminal. It's starting. What is? The cascade. Every intelligence service in 3 systems will see those headlines. They'll start pulling threads. The Syndicate attack on Destiny's March. My presence on both scenes. My classified background. He started walking faster. We need to get the crew together. Leave Meridian before. An alarm cut through the station's ambient noise. Emergency broadcast tones. Every screen in the docking ring switched to the same image. A Vryn in expensive combat armor, scales polished to a military sheen, standing on what looked like a command bridge. Attention Meridian Station, the Vryn announced. This is Syndicate Commander Vrekus. We have credible intelligence that a war criminal is currently docked at your station. This individual is responsible for the deaths of over 400 Syndicate personnel across multiple systems. We demand his immediate surrender. Marcus's jaw tightened. The commander continued. The individual in question is operating under the alias Marcus Chen, currently serving aboard the freighter Destiny's March. He was previously known by the military designation Reaper and is wanted for numerous violations of interstellar law. Meridian Station has 1 hour to produce this individual, or we will consider your neutrality void and board the station by force. The screen displayed a photo. Marcus's face, but younger, harder. His military ID from 12 years ago. How? Ryla breathed. Sealed records aren't as sealed as we thought. Marcus was already moving toward their docking berth. Or someone wants me badly enough to break those seals. Station security flooded the docking ring, weapons drawn, shouting for everyone to freeze. Marcus ignored them, walking with purpose toward Destiny's March. Ryla struggled to keep up. You can't run, she said. They know your ship. They'll track us, not running. Planning. Marcus's mind was already 3 steps ahead. If Vrekus has that photo, he has connections. Deep ones. Someone fed him that classified image. Someone with access to Terran military intelligence. Who would do that? That's what I intend to find out. They reached the ship. Volkov was already at the airlock, armed with a shotgun that was barely legal on civilian vessels. Saw the broadcast, the captain said grimly. Whole station saw it. We're compromised. We're worse than compromised. Marcus entered the ship, moved immediately to the bridge. Ryla, calculate a jump solution to Hellion Station. Captain, get the crew secured for combat maneuvers. Jenko, prep the cargo for emergency dump if needed. Emergency dump? Jenko appeared from engineering. That's 3 months' profit. It's also mass we don't need if we're running. Marcus brought up the navigation systems, started plotting vectors. Lena, I need full power to engines in 3 minutes. The young engineer's voice came over the comm. Marcus, station control has locked our berth. We're not cleared for departure. We will be. He opened a secure channel, entered an old encryption code he'd sworn never to use again, the kind of code that connected to networks that officially didn't exist. This is Reaper, authentication Alpha 77 Omega. I need immediate extraction protocols. To static. Then a voice Marcus hadn't heard in 12 years. Cool, professional, female. Authentication confirmed. Reaper, this is Oversight. You're tagged as inactive status. Why are you using emergency channels? Because someone leaked my sealed records to the Vryn Syndicate, and now they're threatening to board Meridian Station if I don't surrender. Marcus kept his voice level. I need to know who broke protocol. And I need options. A pause. Stand by. More silence then. Reaper, we're seeing the broadcast. Analyzing the source of the leak. Initial assessment suggests the information came from outside Terran networks. Meaning? Meaning someone else has your file. Someone with resources to access deep classified Terran Special Operations archives. The voice turned colder. You made enemies, Reaper. Powerful ones. Some of them have been waiting for you to surface. Oh? Unclear. But if you want answers, you'll need to survive the next few hours. We're transmitting clearance codes to Meridian Station now. You'll have your departure window, but after that, you're on your own. You're inactive. We can't officially help. Understood. Marcus terminated the connection. Volkov approached the navigation station. Old friends? Old handlers. They'll buy us time to leave, but after that, he brought up the jump coordinates. After that, we're in deep trouble. The station's lockdown released with a tone. Lena's voice came over the comm. Excited and terrified. We're cleared. Full departure authorized. How did you... Don't ask, Marcus interrupted. Just give me engines, now. Destiny's March detached from Meridian Station like a stone thrown from a sling. Marcus pushed the old freighter harder than it was designed to go, pulling maneuvers that made the hull groan and the crew grabbed for handholds. Behind them, 3 syndicate ships broke from holding positions and gave chase. They're faster, Ryla reported from sensors. I know. Marcus calculated jump parameters, watching the distance close. 30 seconds to jump range. They're charging weapons. 20 seconds. Plasma fire streaked past the Destiny's viewports. The shields, civilian-grade and weak, flared with absorbed energy. Warning alarms screamed. 10 seconds, then another. The shields dropped to 40%. Jump! Marcus slammed the activation. Space twisted. The stars elongated into lines, and Destiny's March punched through into hyperspace, leaving the Syndicate ships behind in normal space, their weapons still firing at where the freighter had been. In the sudden calm of hyperspace transit, the crew breathed again. Where are we going? Volkov asked. Marcus stared at the navigation plot. Ilion Station. Second star system. It's safer. Maybe. Maybe? The Syndicate is reach, and now they know I exist. He turned to face his captain. They won't stop. Not until they've got me, or until I've eliminated whoever's feeding them information. So what do we do? Marcus's expression hardened into something Volkov recognized from the cargo bay fight. The weapon, returning. We find out who leaked my file, and we make them regret it. Outside, in the infinite dark between stars, their wake disturbed ancient light, and in 3 systems, messages flew between parties that had waited 12 years for the Reaper to resurface. The hunt was on. Helion Station orbited a dying star, its once bright solar collection arrays now coated in decades of cosmic dust. The station served as a waypoint for ships traveling between the core worlds and the outer territories, a place where questions weren't asked and records could be conveniently lost for the right price. Marcus stood in a rented data booth, his fingers flying across holographic displays that showed information flows across 3-star systems. Patterns emerged. Financial transfers, communication intercepts, intelligence chatter, all pointing to a single conclusion that made his blood run cold. "It's not the Syndicate," he said quietly. Ryla stood guard outside the booth, watching the station's main concourse. "What? The leak? It didn't come from Syndicate intelligence. They couldn't access those files." Marcus pulled up another layer of data. "But someone with Terran government connections could. Someone who knew my operational history. Someone who had reason to want me exposed." Volkov appeared, carrying food containers. "You've been in there for 8 hours. Eat something before you pass out." Marcus ignored the food, highlighting a pattern in the data streams. "Look at this." 3 days before the Syndicate attacked Destiny's March, there was a burst transmission from Helion Station to Vryn territory, encrypted using old Terran military protocols. Protocols that were decommissioned 6 years ago. "Meaning what?" Volkov asked. "Meaning whoever sent it had access to legacy Terran intelligence systems." Marcus zoomed in on the transmission's origin point. "And it came from this station, from a data node registered to a corporate shell company called Meridian Holdings." Ryla's skin flickered. "That's not a coincidence. We were just at Meridian Station." "No coincidence. It's a pattern." Marcus pulled up corporate registries. Meridian Holdings has subsidiary operations in all 3 systems where the Syndicate has major operations. They broker information, sell it to the highest bidder. And according to these financial records, they've been selling to the Syndicate for years. "But why you?" Volkov pressed. "Why expose one retired operator?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Because I'm not the only one they're exposing. Look." He expanded the data view. 7 other names, all former Terran Special Operations, all logged as inactive or civilian status. All had their files leaked to various criminal organizations in the past 6 months. 7? Ryla breathed. "That's systematic elimination," Marcus finished. "Someone is hunting down everyone from my old unit, and they're using the criminals we fought to do the dirty work." Who would do that? Someone with a grudge. Someone with resources. Someone who... Marcus stopped, his eyes widening. No, it can't be. He pulled up personnel files, old ones from his operational days, scrolled through names until he found what he was looking for. A face he recognized. A man he'd served with. Lieutenant Commander James Archer. Status: killed in action 12 years ago. Except the death report had an annotation Marcus had never noticed before. Body not recovered. Status presumed deceased based on operational parameters. Not confirmed, Marcus whispered. They never confirmed the death. Volkov read over his shoulder. "Who is this?" "My old commanding officer. We ran operations together for 3 years, until a mission in Syndicate territory went bad. He was captured. We mounted a rescue, but..." Marcus pulled up mission reports. "The facility was destroyed. We assumed he died in the explosion. We never found his body." "You think he survived?" "I think he's been alive this whole time. And I think he blames us for leaving him." Marcus's jaw tightened. If the Syndicate captured him, they would have interrogated him, tortured him, maybe turned him. And now, 12 years later, he's selling out everyone who served with him. "That's speculation," Ryla said carefully. "It's the only thing that makes sense." Marcus began copying data to a secure chip. Someone with intimate knowledge of our operations. Someone who knew every member of our unit. Someone with access to Terran systems. He ejected the chip, pocketed it. Someone who knows exactly how to hurt us. "So what do we do?" Volkov asked. Marcus stood, his expression grim. "We do what I should have done 12 years ago. We finish the mission." The address led to a corporate office in Helion Station's upper ring, where the gravity was lighter and the rent was higher. Meridian Holdings occupied a modest suite, 3 rooms, minimal staff, the kind of operation designed to be forgettable. Marcus approached alone, dressed in civilian business attire that hid the compact weapons he'd acquired through Helion's less reputable merchants. The receptionist, a bored-looking human woman with augmented eyes, barely looked up. "Can I help you?" "I have an appointment with Mr. Archer," Marcus said pleasantly. "Regarding information brokerage." "Mr. Archer doesn't take walk-ins. Tell him Reaper is here to discuss old times." The woman's augmented eyes flickered, accessing internal systems. Her expression changed, neutral to wary. One moment. She touched her ear, spoke quietly into a comlink. A pause. Then, "He'll see you. Through the door. last office on the right. Marcus walked through. The offices were mostly empty, just a few data technicians working terminals. No security visible, but he felt the cameras tracking his movement. At the end of the hallway, a door stood open. Inside, a figure sat behind a desk, silhouetted against a viewport showing Helion's dying star. Hello, Marcus. The voice was familiar, weathered by years but unmistakable. I wondered how long it would take you to find me. Marcus entered the office. The door closed behind him automatically. Jim. 12 years had changed him. Where Marcus had become leaner, more compact, Archer had hardened into something made of angles and scars. His right arm was cybernetic, high-grade military hardware. His left eye was augmented, the iris glowing faintly blue. He looked like a man who'd been taken apart and put back together by people who didn't care about aesthetics. You look good, Archer said. Civilian life agrees with you. You look like hell. Marcus didn't sit. What happened, Jim? We thought you died. I did die, the man you knew, at least. Archer gestured at himself. The syndicate kept me alive. 3 years of interrogation. 2 years of reconditioning. By the time I escaped, I wasn't the same person. He smiled, bitter. I spent 5 years tracking down our old unit. Took another 2 to build this operation. And now, one by one, I'm evening the score. For what? We tried to rescue you. The intel said you were dead. The intel was wrong! Archer's voice cracked. I was alive, Marcus. Alive and screaming for help while you blew up the building and left. 3 years I spent in syndicate interrogation cells because you chose to follow bad intelligence instead of confirming the target. Marcus felt the weight of those words. We couldn't verify. The facility was collapsing. We had 30 seconds before the reactor went critical. You had 30 seconds to save your commanding officer, and you chose to run. Archer stood, walked to the viewport. They broke me, Marcus. Every bone, every belief, everything I was. And when I finally escaped, I came looking for you, for all of you. But you disappeared, logged as civilians, hidden in plain sight. We served our time. We took our discharges. We left because we were tired of killing. While I rotted. Archer spun, his cybernetic arm slamming the desk. While I suffered, you got to walk away clean. No consequences. No price. Just comfortable merchant ships and peaceful routes through friendly space. So, this is revenge? Selling us out to the people we fought? This is justice. Archer's augmented eye glowed brighter. Every one of you will face the organizations you hurt. Every one of you will understand what it means to be hunted. To be broken, to be discarded. Marcus shook his head. You're not thinking clearly, Jim. The syndicate didn't just break you physically. They broke you mentally. Made you their weapon. Everything you're doing now serves their interests, not yours. I know exactly what I'm doing. Do you? Marcus gestured at the office. You're selling Terran intelligence to criminals. You're endangering civilian populations. You've become everything we fought against. Archer laughed, harsh and broken. We were always what we fought against. We just had better PR, official sanctions, clean paperwork. But the blood on our hands is the same as theirs. That's the torture talking. That's what they put in your head. No. Archer's voice went quiet. That's clarity. That's seeing past the propaganda we told ourselves. We were killers, Marcus, professional killers. The fact that we wore Terran uniforms didn't make us righteous. It just made us legal. Marcus measured the distance between them. Archer's cybernetic arm would give him enhanced strength and speed. The augmented eye provided threat assessment and targeting data. This wouldn't be like the syndicate operatives. This would be fighting someone who knew all his moves. I'm not leaving here without stopping you, Marcus said quietly. I know, Archer smiled. That's why I arranged this meeting. I've sold out 6 of our unit members. You're number 7. But unlike the others, I wanted to face you myself, to see if the legendary Reaper still had teeth after 12 years of civilian softness. Jim, it doesn't have to end this way. Archer moved. His cybernetic arm grabbed a plasma pistol from the desk drawer, bringing it to bear in a fraction of a second. But Marcus had been ready. He threw himself sideways behind a filing cabinet as the first shot scorched the air where he'd stood. You were always the fastest. Archer called out, firing 2 more shots that punched through the cabinet. But speed won't save you from technology. Marcus pulled his own weapon, a compact slug pistol that wouldn't overpenetrate the station hull. I don't want to kill you, Jim. You should have thought of that 12 years ago. Archer came around the cabinet, his augmented eye tracking heat signatures. But Marcus had rolled again, coming up behind the desk. They fired simultaneously. Both shots went wide. Both operators dove for cover. The office became a battlefield. They moved through it like dancers who knew each other's choreography, each predicting the other's movements because they trained together, fought together. Archer had superior hardware. Marcus had experience fighting opponents with enhanced abilities. Archer kicked the desk. His cybernetic leg sent it flying across the room. Marcus twisted away, felt the edge graze his shoulder. He fired 3 quick shots. One struck Archer's cybernetic arm, sparking but not penetrating. The augmented limb was military-grade, designed to withstand small arms fire. You can't win this. Archer advanced, his movements inhuman fast. I'm better than you now. Stronger. Faster. Everything the Syndicate's money could buy. Marcus backed toward the viewport. All that hardware, and you still fight like an amateur. The Syndicate didn't make you better, Jim. They just made you expensive. Archer snarled and lunged. His cybernetic hand grabbed for Marcus's throat. Marcus let him close, then twisted, using Archer's momentum against him. They crashed into the viewport. The reinforced glass cracked but held. They grappled. Archer's cybernetic strength was overwhelming at close range. Marcus felt his ribs creak under the pressure, but he'd fought stronger opponents. Strength meant nothing without leverage. He hooked his leg behind Archer's knee, shifted his weight, and threw his former commander into the wall. Archer hit hard, denting the metal. He came up bleeding from a cut above his biological eye. You've still got it. Good. I wanted this to be challenging. This isn't a game, Jim. People are dying because of what you've done. People are always dying. We made careers out of it. Archer charged again. This time, Marcus was ready. He sidestepped, grabbed Archer's cybernetic arm, and used a joint lock that exploited the servo's limitations. Archer cried out as his own arm twisted in a direction it wasn't designed to go. But the augmented eye was feeding him tactical data. He adapted, reversed the momentum, broke Marcus's grip. They separated, both breathing hard. You can't stop me, Archer said. Even if you kill me, the information is already out there. The Syndicate knows about 6 other operators. They're being hunted as we speak. Then I'll warn them. Marcus kept his pistol leveled. And I'll make sure everyone knows what you've become. The Terran government. The intelligence community. They'll burn every operation you've built. They'll have to find it first. Archer smiled. I've got operations in 7 systems. Backups. Deadman switches. Even if you kill me, the machine keeps running. Then I guess I'll have to dismantle it the hard way. You? Archer laughed. You're one man, Marcus, a middle-aged freight navigator who plays at being a warrior. You can't fight an organization spread across 3-star systems. Watch me. They fired simultaneously. Marcus's shot caught Archer in the shoulder, spinning him. Archer's shot went wide, punching through the viewport. Atmosphere screamed out through the hole. The emergency bulkhead slammed down, sealing the office. In the sudden silence, both men faced each other across the ruined office. Archer was bleeding. Marcus's ribs ached from the earlier grapple. They were both exhausted, and they both knew this fight could only end one way. Last chance, Marcus said. Surrender. Face justice. Maybe they can fix what the Syndicate broke. I told you, I died 12 years ago. Archer raised his pistol. The man you're talking to is just a ghost with a grudge. Then rest in peace, Jim. They fired. Marcus's shot took Archer in the chest, center mass, through the heart. Archer's shot went high as he fell, punching through the ceiling. The former commanding officer collapsed against the wall, blood spreading across his shirt, his augmented eye flickering and dying. Marcus approached carefully. Archer was still breathing, but barely. His biological eye focused on Marcus one last time. You always were the best of us, Archer whispered. That's why I saved you for last. Jim, the other 6 are already dead. I lied about hunting them. They died months ago. Different systems, different circumstances, but all because of what I set in motion. He coughed blood. You're the last one, Marcus. The last of our unit. The last witness to what we did. Marcus knelt beside him. Why tell me this now? Because, Archer smiled, fading. Because I wanted you to know that everything you thought you escaped, it doesn't escape you. It follows. It finds you. It. His eye closed, his breathing stopped. Marcus stood slowly, looking down at the body of a man he'd once trusted with his life. A man broken by the very enemy they'd fought together. A ghost with a grudge who'd spent 12 years destroying everything they'd built. He retrieved the data chip from Archer's desk terminal, copying everything. Financial records, contact lists, every operation Archer had built. Then he placed an anonymous call to Helion Station security and walked out before they arrived. Outside, Ryla and Volkov were waiting with the ship prepped for immediate departure. Did you find what you needed? Volkov asked. Marcus nodded. Found it. Ended it. Let's go. Where to? Everywhere. Marcus brought up the data from Archer's systems. He wasn't lying about the organization. It's spread across 3 systems. Money laundering, information brokerage, intelligence sales to criminal networks. All of it needs to burn. That's a lot of work for one crew, Ryla noted. Then we'll get help. Marcus opened a secure channel, entered codes he'd thought he'd never use again. This is Reaper. Authentication Alpha 77 Omega. I need to speak with Oversight. Priority Alpha.
The same cool female voice answered, Reaper.
You're becoming a regular caller. What do you need? I have intelligence on a rogue operation selling Terran classified information to criminal organizations across 3 systems. The operator was Lieutenant Commander James Archer, formerly of my unit. KIA status incorrect. He's been running this network for 7 years. A pause. Archer, we have him logged as deceased. You logged wrong. I'm transmitting his operations complete structure now. Financial records, communication protocols, personnel lists, everything. Marcus sent the data. I'm also transmitting evidence that he sold classified information on 6 other former operators, all deceased as a result. Another pause. Longer. Received. This is significant. Where is Archer now? Helion Station, corporate office. You'll want to secure the scene before local security compromises evidence. Understood. Reaper. You've just handed us the biggest intelligence leak investigation in 15 years. That buys you some goodwill. The voice softened slightly. But you're still inactive. Officially, this conversation didn't happen. Works for me. Yes. The Syndicate has been broadcasting my identity across multiple systems. That needs to stop. We can't put that genie back in the bottle. Your face is out there. Then give me a new one. Marcus looked at his reflection in the viewport. New identity, new records, clean slate. You owe me that much for ending Archer's operation. Then, it can be arranged, but it takes time. Months. I've got months. Just make it happen. Understood? Reaper, was he worth it, saving those 6 operators even in failure? Was it worth what it cost you? Marcus thought about Archer's broken form, about the torture, the reconditioning, the 12 years of planning revenge, about the 6 operators who died because they'd failed to confirm a target. No, he said quietly, it wasn't worth it. But we did what we thought was right with the information we had. That's all anyone can do. Good answer. Stay safe, Reaper. We'll be in touch about the new identity. The transmission ended. Volkov approached. So what happens now? Now we finish the job. Marcus brought up navigation charts. Archer's organization has nodes in 3 systems. We're going to visit each one. Document everything. Turn it over to the authorities. Clean up the mess he left behind. That's months of work, Ryla said. Dangerous work. I know. Marcus looked at his crew. I'm giving everyone the option to leave. Find a new ship. New captain. I've got enough saved to cover severance pay. No one signed up for this. Liner's voice came over the comm from engineering. I'm staying. Yenko appeared from the cargo bay. Same. You saved my life. I owe you. Ryla's skin glowed with determination. I want to see this through. Volkov clapped Marcus on the shoulder. Your crew, Chen. You don't get rid of us that easily. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, not the cold calculation of his old life, not the hollow emptiness of 12 years pretending to be someone else. Something new. Something that felt like purpose without the weight of official sanction. "All right then," he said, "let's get to work." Destiny's March pulled away from Helion Station as local security units swarmed Meridian Holdings' office. Behind them, they left a body and a revelation that would trigger investigations across 3-star systems. Ahead of them lay months of dangerous work, dismantling an organization built by a ghost. But Marcus Chen, logged as civilian, formerly known as Reaper, wasn't the same man who'd walked away 12 years ago. He'd been tested, broken, and rebuilt into something neither soldier nor civilian, but something in between. A man who could choose his battles instead of having them assigned, and he chose this one. In the data centers of 3-star systems, flags were being raised. Investigations were being opened. The Vrin Syndicate was learning that their new intelligence pipeline had been burned. Criminal organizations were discovering that their bought information was now compromised. And somewhere in the dark between stars, a freighter crew that officially didn't exist was hunting ghosts. The galaxy had logged Marcus Chen as a civilian. 3-star systems were learning otherwise. But this time, he was choosing to be the weapon. On his own terms. For the right reasons. And that made all the difference.